M. Night Shyamalan is back for a brand new psychological thriller horror film that is coming out in cinemas tomorrow, and I'm really excited to talk about this one because this might be one of M. Night Shyamalan's better movies. Let's get to it. Welcome back, film fans. It is Brad from Let's Be Real Brad, and today in the channel, I want to talk to you guys about the brand new horror film called Knock at the Cabin. Knock at the Cabin is co-written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. So going into this film, I knew quite a bit about it just based from seeing the trailer like 300 times when I go to the movie theaters and trying to avoid it, but you can't because there's so much advertising behind it, and for the fact that I am really curious to check out any M. Night Shyamalan movie. Even if I don't love the movie that he makes, I always find that he puts a lot of effort and creativity into all of his movies, and the premise and the hook of each of one of his movies has always been so interesting to me. I was even more interested in checking this movie out because it is the second R-rated film of M. Night Shyamalan's career after 2008's The Happening, and I thought that this movie could have been really good, and to be honest with you, I thought this was a quite solid movie. And I think what does it for me has got to be the tone and the performances here, as this is definitely some of M. Night Shyamalan's best. I feel like it was such a big difference from his other movies like Old and Glass that came out in the past few years. So let's just dive into some of the positives that I've had with this movie, and I want to start with Dave Bautista, as he is clearly one of the best actors to come out of the WWE, and he is definitely one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, but he has proven time and time again that he has so much range, and this is definitely one of my favorite performances of his, which is interesting because M. Night Shyamalan picked Dave Bautista to be in this film after he saw his performance in Blade Runner 2049, which is definitely one of my favorites. He absolutely carries this movie and just understands the role. I also found Jonathan Groff to be excellent as well, which is no surprise to anyone who likes Jonathan Groff because he is a very talented actor and proves it here in this film, and I think he was perfectly casted. Rupert Grint is also in this movie. You know, that redhead kid from Harry Potter, Ron Weasley? Yeah, he is in this movie, and let me tell you, he plays a very different character than Ron Weasley, and it was a little off-putting because I haven't seen him in any other movie besides the Harry Potter franchise, and he was really good in this movie. He probably gave the most terrifying performance, if I were to say so, because his character was just off the walls crazy. One of my favorite aspects about this film, hands down, has got to be the cinematography, as this film was shot on 35mm, which any movie shot on film is going to look amazing. But the fact that M. Night Shyamalan wanted to have the 1990s lenses for the camera and to make this movie have this old school thriller look, it really adds to this movie. Jaron Blashky was the cinematographer for this film, and he did an amazing job, which should be no surprise because he was nominated for Best Cinematography at the Academy Awards for The Lighthouse a few years ago, and he did work on The Witch and The Northman, which were all of Robert Eggers' movies, and those are amazing looking films. I also found the pacing in this movie to be quite solid, even though there is a stretch in this movie where there's just not a lot happening. It works when this movie is around an hour and 40 minutes and there's not a lot of fluff to it, so I was very invested. I also found the first act of this movie to be really strong, which is essentially most of the trailer if you have seen it, but I think it does a great job of setting up the tone and what is going to happen next for the rest of the movie, and I think for a lot of people, they are going to be really excited to see what they see next. Unfortunately, I had quite a few negatives with this movie, and I do have to start with the third act. If you guys know anything about the third act of the novel that this film is based off of, you would know that it is very different than this movie, and I really wish that they just stuck with that original third act of the book, and it just feels so more sanitized and not as scary or creepy of what it could actually do. And I also feel like because M. Night Shyamalan is known as the modern day king of twists in his movies and full of surprises, that the twist in this movie was so obvious and so easy to predict that it was quite embarrassing, to be honest with you. And I don't know if it's because I know a lot about biblical stories and I was a Christian boy, so I know all those things, but when it is revealed, it really wasn't all that great, and I felt like there could have been way more interesting things you could have done with it. Now, going back to this certain part of the movie that I have been referencing the whole video, I feel like this could have been a time where we could have just jumped back to a beginning point of the movie with our characters. And this movie does try to have a few various flashbacks, but they're only in here as like added scenes that if you literally took those scenes out, the movie wouldn't change all that much. It doesn't really add anything to these characters that we might have not already thought or even just cared to see. It doesn't really add much to the movie, and I don't feel like we get a lot from our main characters all that much. So when things start to happen in this movie, I didn't really feel anything besides the more humane aspect of it. Overall, Knock at the Cabin was a nice surprise of a film that gives you everything you would want from the trailer, being a very solid psychological thriller horror film. And I think the performances in this movie are really good, and there's a lot of great tension and a lot of horrifying moments that are definitely going to keep audiences on edge. If you are a fan of M. Night Shyamalan, I would definitely go check out this film if you want to, and I think you will have a great time at the cinema. Thank you guys so much for checking out this review. As I want to know below in the comment section, have you guys heard of Knock at the Cabin? Have you seen it already? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions. I can't wait to hear about those. Before you guys check out this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like as you should, and ring that notification bell so I can see you all in the next upcoming video.